My friends, it is May the 4th, which means it is officially time to begin our May the 4th giveaway. Stay tuned to the end of the episode to find out how you can be one of the winners selected by me to receive your very own customizable saber from Kyberlight.
The Republic will be reorganized into the First Galactic Empire!
Unsurprisingly, there are numerous Easter eggs and references to other Star Wars stories peppered throughout the opening episode of their newest animated series, The Bad Batch. And I'm here today to talk with you about the most interesting ones, with 10 tiny details you may have missed from The Bad Batch, Episode 1.
Dume is my name. Caleb Dume is the name I was born with.
Starting off at number 10, the opening of the episode shows us a Jedi Master Depa Billaba waiting for her Padawan, Caleb Dume. Longtime fans of Star Wars and eagle-eared listeners will no doubt recognize this name as that being the birth name of Kanan Jarrus, the great Jedi mentor from Star Wars Rebels. While we have heard from Kanan in Star Wars Rebels that he did undergo Order 66 and had to run away when his master was being shot down by the clones, this was really great that we actually got to see it. And there was a lot of consistency maintained between this showing here and what we got to hear about in Star Wars Rebels.
Our fellow soldiers, the clones, the ones we Jedi fought side by side with, suddenly turned and betrayed us. I watched them kill my master. She fought beside them for years, and they gunned her down in a second.
Interesting. It seems you trained with Jedi Master Depa Billaba. In close quarter fighting, Bilaba's emphasis was always on Form 3, which you favor to a ridiculous degree.
Speaking of Depa Billaba, the next little Easter egg comes in the nature of her death, wherein she defends herself using Form 3 lightsaber technique, something we knew that she favored thanks to what the Grand Inquisitor said in Season 1 of Star Wars Rebels. This was a really great way of tying together what we had already known about Depa Billaba and what we got to see here, since this was actually the first time we ever got to see Depa Billaba in action, other than, the comics and stuff. But actually on screen, this is really the first time we've seen her use a lightsaber, since the only other time we've seen her on screen was actually in The Phantom Menace in the Council Chamber scenes. The inclusion of Kanan Jarrus and Depa Billaba was a surprise, at least to me, to be sure, but a welcome one. Of course, if I'm being honest, I don't think it should have been a surprise to me, since we knew that they animated young Kanan Jarrus, or Caleb Dume, and Depa Billaba in the Clone Wars animated style for Season 7 of the Clone Wars. However, they didn't actually make an appearance in any of the episodes, only making a very brief cameo in one of the opening sections where Admiral Yularen tells the audience what's going on. They were only in that one scene and never shown again, and I actually was surprised when Season 7 aired that they weren't in any of the actual episodes. But of course now we know that those assets were probably being saved so that they could have their climactic scene here in The Bad Batch. A scene which really, I think, made the episode for me.
It was your master, Billaba, who laid down her life for yours. Do you remember her last word to you? Her last and final breath? Run.
Under this directive, any and all Jedi leadership must be executed for treason against the Republic.
When the Bad Batch returns to Kamino, they find that the clone troopers have adopted a newly rigorous posture and demeanor. No longer are these the casual human clones that we've been taught to love throughout the first 6.5 seasons of the Clone Wars. These have the posture, demeanor, and attitude of stormtroopers, marking the very first wave of stormtroopers. Yes, they wear still clone armor, however, the Empire taking over does mark them as the first phase of clone stormtroopers. Throughout this, one of the interesting things that is consistently used in Star Wars, we actually talked about this in Season 7, is the use of helmets to dehumanize evil. In Season 7 of the Clone Wars, we saw that Captain Rex put on his helmet immediately after committing to Order 66. The helmet would not be removed again until he was freed from his inhibitor chip and sided with Ahsoka. The use of these helmets is a way of putting a mask on a face that we have been taught to love and associate with. On top of that, the use of camera angles and posture brings the helmet a much more menacing look than we're usually used to. When the Bad Batch returns to Kamino, 4 out of 5 of the members are the only humans in the entire facility to go unmasked. Well, between Hunter, Echo, Wrecker, Tech, and Omega, there are no other humans in the entire facility, including Crosshair, who have their helmets off. This here is a very subtle hint at who is and who isn't on the side of the Empire. The humans who are showing their faces are those who are remaining individuals and wanting to maintain individuality and not commit themselves to the Empire. Whereas everyone who is wearing a helmet is someone who will, at some point in the episode, prove their loyalty to this new tyrannical regime.
What are you doing? Following orders.
When the Empire takes over, then you take that wash of color and icons and logos on the helmets and you completely strip it away to have the classic stormtrooper.
Another interesting detail along the same note is that now we are starting to see a lot more clone troopers with pure, raw, white armor which we seldom see in the Clone Wars. There are only 2 other times in the entire series where I can think of where we've seen this Phase 2 armor in the pure, raw white, and the first was in the episode where Fives discovers the inhibitor chip conspiracy, and the next was after the Siege of Mandalore when the clones were about to commit Order 66 against Ahsoka. The use of the all-white armor is a sign of them stripping away their individuality and slowly starting to make the transition from the individual clones into the uniformed stormtroopers. Another interesting little detail revolves around Echo's uniform. Echo now sports a newly modified set of armor in order to fit in better with the Bad Batch. However, what he maintains is his kama, that little clone skirt thing that he wears, which as a clone marked him as an ARC trooper. Of course, now instead of being gray and blue, it is black and red to match the color scheme of the Bad Batch.
The war may have ended. The Civil War is about to begin.
Saw Gerrera was first introduced in the Clone Wars animated series, then later making an appearance in Star Wars Rebels to lead up to his live-action debut in Rogue One. The animated series have consistently maintained that Saw Gerrera has green eyes, while Forrest Whitaker sports a much darker shade of brown eyes. It is interesting to see here that even after his live-action debut, they are maintaining consistency with the other animated appearances, portraying Saw Gerrera once again with green eyes.
Lies! Deceptions!
But you gotta see these clones. They're different.
When the Bad Batch first returns to Kamino, Tech tells us that they have been gone for 205 standard rotations. Although the date was different in Kamino time, that doesn't really matter. As far as the galaxy recognizes a year, this is most of it. And later on, we can see that Wrecker says 11 more successful missions, telling us that they have an average mission time of about 18 days, including prep and travel, which is, if I were to say, pretty good. Of course, I am no military expert, but I would imagine that 18 days per successful mission, including prep and travel time, would mark them as a very successful team. Something that didn't need to be said, but was still a nice touch.
11 more successful missions. Like there was any doubt.
Wrecker, having the emotional integrity of a 5-year-old, has with him a Tuka doll. In fact, it is the same style of doll that is seen being held by Numa, the Twi'lek who was saved by Waxer and Boyle in the Clone Wars Season 1. A Tuka is, interestingly enough, the parent species of the Loth cat. A Loth cat is a subspecies of Tuka, and they're these pointy-eared cat thing, and is apparently a very popular subject for children's plush toys.
Hello, ARC Trooper 5s.
The droid who accompanies Omega is AZ3-452-11896246498721347. And yes, I ran all those numbers to find out that it is, in fact, the same exact AZ3 droid who accompanied Fives in his attempt to uncover the conspiracy about the inhibitor chips. It seems that the Kaminoans decided not to scrap him, but just to wipe his memory so that he couldn't expose the conspiracy any further, and put him back to work helping around with medical stuff. He's also voiced by the same voice actor, Ben Diskin, which is a nice little touch because I think that he brings brings a lot of really great life to that character.
Are you going to be reprogrammed as well?
Before our last tiny detail, I have some even tinier details with 10 honorable mentions here for you. In the Bad Batch's room, we can see battle droid blueprints in the background. Also, we hear that Tech refers to Echo as being more machine than man, which is obviously a reference to Darth Vader. Ian McDiarmid comes back to voice Palpatine. Well, not really. They didn't actually bring Ian McDiarmid back in to voice Palpatine, but they simply reused his lines from Revenge of the Sith exactly as they were recorded for that film, bringing them back so that there is a noticeable consistency between his speech in Revenge of the Sith and that same speech being given here in The Bad Batch. Crosshair asks Republic, Empire, what's the difference, which seems to mirror what Mayfeld says in Chapter 15 of The Mandalorian. Omega's defect is not clearly said other than the fact that she has a curious mind, and sometimes her movements seem to mirror Hunter's. I'm not really sure on that, we're gonna have to wait and see more. Also, there's a moment where she senses that Crosshair is coming before the doors actually open, so there is some sort of intuition going on. Also on Kamino, we can hear more thunder than we normally do, even when inside the cafeteria, an area that has previously been shown to us to be pretty soundproofed. This is a way of telling the audience that there is something darker and more menacing going on than we've normally seen on Kamino. Tarkin now holds the rank of Admiral, being referred to as Admiral Tarkin. This is about 5 years before he will be given the rank of Moff. The droids that are used in the training room when they switch to live rounds appear to be DT patrol droids, which are the same droids that Grand Admiral Thrawn trains against in Star Wars Rebels. When Crosshair is angry, he touches the side of his head, the exact same spot of his head where the inhibitor chip is located, telling us that it is incredibly likely that his loyalty to the Empire is nothing more than the result of his chip, something that is slightly hinted at by Lama Su later in the episode. On each of the Bad Batch's armor, you can see 2 squares with lines under them. That is Aurebesh for the number 99. The other Aurebesh in this episode is the word override. Now finally at number 1, we have the Clone Wars logo in all red. Normally, we've been taught to associate this with an episode where Maul is present. However, this marks the first episode of an animated anything where the red logo appeared and Maul did not. I believe that the color change was likely because this is a brand new show and it was to reflect the red and black color scheme of the Bad Batch armor. That is, unless there's a secret conspiracy that Maul is actually behind the whole thing, but I'm not going to bet on that one. But anyway, those were 10 tiny details you may have missed in the Bad Batch Episode 1. Were there any I missed? Let me know down in the comments below, because as always, I want to know what you, my friends, have to say about our favorite galaxy far, far away. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, or if you learned absolutely nothing new, you can feel free to leave a thumbs down, completely guilt-free, because that tells me I'm not doing my job. Don't forget, the May the 4th giveaway is starting. We have several Sabers here, and we're going to be selecting a few lucky winners across the month of May for the May the 4th giveaway to receive your very own customizable Saber from Kyberlight. To win, all you have to do is enter into the comments the name of the character who holds your favorite lightsaber. I'll be picking from those comments at the end of the month to select the people who will be winning one of our giveaway packages. A big thanks to Kyberlight for sponsoring this episode. If you would like to have your own customizable saber, they have upped my promo code to 15% off. All you have to do is click my link in the description and use my promo code LORESTAR15. Kyberlight is my absolute favorite saber company, the only one that I'm aware of that offers a lifetime warranty on blades. No questions asked. You're just like, hey, I beat my blade until it cracked into pieces. Can you send me a new one? And they're like, sure. No questions asked. You can just have a new blade. They've also tested their blades so you can run them over with your car, so I don't know if I'm ever going to get to use that warranty, but they are where I buy all my blades just because, hey, lifetime warranty. No questions asked. That's pretty cool. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, may the lore be with you, now and forever.